Seconded it.
Wing and a prayer.
Me and JJ's twins on. Look at his shirt.
Good evening. We now call to order the February 24, 2025 meeting of the Cherokee County School Board of Trustees. At this time, we will stand for our Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation by Trustee Crystal Shippey. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you. We ask you to please forgive us for our sins. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for being able to be here. We ask for you to come into this meeting to help clear our hearts and minds to make the best decisions for the children and for the community of Cherokee County overall. In your Son, Jesus Christ's name, I do humbly pray. Amen.
Amen. May be seated. The next item on the agenda is approval of the board agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the board agenda.
Motion, Ms. Shackelford.
Second.
Second, Mr. Cash. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Next item, school board policy BEDH, public participation.
There were none.
We did not have any. The fifth item on the agenda, executive session. I call for a motion to enter into executive session for personnel matters for the purpose of discussing the employment of a superintendent.
I make a motion we enter into executive session to discuss personnel matters for the purpose of discussing the employment of a superintendent.
Motion, Ms. Goldman.
Second.
Second, Mr. Cash. All those who are in favor? That is unanimous. We're now in executive session. To return to open session.
I'll make a motion that we return to open session.
Motion, Ms. Shackelford.
Second.
Second, Mr. Surratt. All those who are in favor? That is unanimous. The next item on the agenda, is there an action that's needed from executive session?
Madam Chair, I move that the board allow Dr. Thomas White to remain in the position of interim superintendent under the current terms of his agreement with the board, and that the board express its gratitude and appreciation to the 3 superintendent finalists for their interest in the superintendent position and the time and effort they invested here. We collectively believe that allowing Dr. White to remain on as interim is in the best interest of our students, our staff, and our community.
That is a motion to allow Dr. White to remain as interim superintendent. That came from Ms. Shackelford. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Wilkins. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those who are in favor? That is a unanimous vote. We move on to action items number 7 on our agenda.
Okay.
Dr. White?
Dr. Dukes, if you would, action item A is the mathematics and instructional materials.
Good afternoon. I'm going to invite Ms. Allen to come up and talk about instructional materials.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. We shared with your curriculum committee this past week our recommendations for our mathematics high-quality instructional materials. This will be for the textbooks that are adopted as a 6-year adoption to support the new 2025 math state standards. Do want to just reiterate that while this is a textbook adoption, it is not our curriculum. We still will have curriculum math that have our district that teachers will follow. So this will not be a scripted program that they would follow, but rather a supplement that we will use to help with the instruction of our students. So you should have a copy of the recommended textbook adoption for each grade level or course. We will start with that elementary math. We are recommending that be Great Minds, Eureka Math Squared. We had teams put together for each level. So for our K-5, our middle school for 6-8, we had a team for Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry together. And then for our other high school courses that are represented there in our recommendation. And those consisted of teachers, instructional coaches, principals, district curriculum and instruction staff. And just felt like we highlighted some of the points there under each selection. With the Great Minds Eureka Squared, it had the mathematical practices that we are trying to promote through our math course that is being taken across the district right now. It also supports the math practices that are embedded in our standards. It had a clear universal design for learning. It covered the majority of our standards. I will say, and you'll need to know this about all the recommendations, that there is no 100% coverage of standards listed here because they just don't. The state doesn't require that it be 100%, just so that you know. So that's why we say it cannot be a standalone curriculum for our county. We just felt like this would give us the best opportunity to meet the standards for each grade level there. Any questions about the elementary? Go ahead with middle school. I don't want to read it to you, but I know you have it. Okay. So our middle school math for grades 6 through 8, we have decided to recommend accelerated learning with Math Nation. Majority of our grade level standards were actually covered through them, so we were very pleased with what they laid out. The student book is more friendly for our students to be able to look at and work in. The practice questions are very rigorous, hoping that that will increase the level of understanding for our students as they move forward at the middle school level. It does have an on-ramp tool that addresses instructional gaps, so it's an online platform that goes with that. And again, it'll have those core mathematical practices that we are trying to embed in the coursework that the county will, county teachers. And then with geometry and statistics, Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, we decided to try to keep it consistent with Math Nation, so they'll move through that community review this past week about all of the things that we had offered. So, just wanted again to keep those, so it will be consistent. It also has that online piece with their Edge Excel to help with intervention as we try to close any gaps that may exist there. Some of the options you'll see a little bit highlighted, they were the only state-approved textbook. So for applications and modeling, and then we have discrete modeling, those were the only ones that we could select for that through the state adoption process. And then you'll see National Geographic for pre-calculus and calculus, and then Bedford, Freeman, and Word Function Group for calculus for AP. Also that same company to keep it consistent for our AP statistics, so those will be our AP textbook support. And then again, with statistical modeling, we kept it with that CNA, which was similar to the pre-calculus and calculus. So we tried to keep within the same vendors when it was possible, just because it provided consistent training for our teachers and for the students at those levels. If it doesn't want to keep it easy. So, do you have questions?
How many people came last Thursday?
We had about 9 community members stop by.
Okay.
We had some teachers, we had some parents, and then we had some community members.
Okay, great. Good, thank you.
Ms. Dawkins, this does come as a recommendation for approval from the Curriculum Instruction Committee.
Okay, so that means it's already been seconded. Is there any, do we have any discussion or any more questions concerning the textbook adoption?
It appeared to me during the committee meeting, they really researched and took their time to select the best textbooks, so kudos to y'all. Thank y'all.
So with that being said, if we're in favor, please raise your hand. That is unanimous.
Item B is approval of the comprehensive improvement plans for the schools in our district that are required to report those. We gave you those big notebooks back in January for review between then and now. The detail in those notebooks was covered at the last curriculum and instruction meeting, and so the recommendation for approval of those plans comes to you from curriculum and instruction. Dr. Dukes will be happy to handle any questions.
So this is also coming out of committee?
It's coming from the committee, yes, ma'am.
Any questions or discussion from any other board members?
Again, the principals, I'm sure their teams, their instructional teams, and curriculum instruction department has worked very hard in creating these plans, and we went through them and looks like they did a great job. And I also like how they really worked to explain the definitions of all of our school designations, so we had a better understanding of where our schools rank at state level. So I thought they did a great job of that, and they're working hard to improve our test scores and getting our students where they need to be. So I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Ms. Gallman. Ms. Gallman chairs that curriculum committee, so we thank you so very much for your input. If nothing else, all in favor? That is unanimous.
Item C is a little more complicated. So these are second and final readings of several board policies. We did not bring back the administrative rules as they don't require board approval. So we're focusing on the policies. The first one is policy JFB, school choice. So this would be the second and final reading. And any comments on that, Ms. Westmoreland? This just brought us in compliance? Yeah.
Brought us in compliance with what is actually happening and a rearrange the policy so it was more user friendly for folks that are looking at it. And the school choice window opens March 1st.
And it was recommended by the policy, recommended for approval by the policy committee.
So at this time, policy JFB, school choice, second and final reading, comes from as a recommendation from the policy committee. If there's no discussion and you're ready to vote, all in favor? That's unanimous.
Okay, policy JH, student absences and excuses, again, coming from Ms. Westmoreland's area, and this pretty much just brings us in compliance with laws, and I think there was like one word maybe that was changed in the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it comes as a recommendation for approval from the policy committee.
So policy JH, student absences and excuses, second and final reading. Recommendation from the policy committee. If no discussion, all those who are in favor? Unanimous.
Policy GCD has to do with vacations and holidays. And basically what this does is add Memorial Day to the list of holidays, as well as the Friday after the Thursday in November that is Thanksgiving. So it adds those 2 days.
Okay. Policy GCD. This is coming out of the policy committee. Adding Memorial Day and the day after Thanksgiving as holidays. Any discussion?
I just have one question, and this is for all 12-month employees, or is it for just instructional?
It's
'Cause it
all-
says-
all 12-month employees.
All 12 months. And there's been a lot of question about 12-month clerical staff days. Are we gonna get a further information about that? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, as long as I can get some clarification on that.
Okay.
Dr. White, one other question. So this names the holidays that the employees will receive. In the past, they've been able to take the 2 weeks at Christmas. Now, this specifies the 2 days, December 24th and 25th. I think those are the days that they currently get paid for. They would still be allowed to take off those 2 weeks at Christmas, right?
You have 3 classifications of 12-month employees.
Yeah.
You have a group that is 260 days, a group that's 250 days, and a group that's 233 presently. So only the ones who are at 233 or 250 would get that whole time off. The ones that are 260, the only holidays they have are the ones that you have listed specifically here.
What's been the policy in the past for 260? Have they gotten the 2 weeks before?
No.
Now, them the maintenance guys, ain't Dr. White, like, they work doing. They take their time.
It's mostly maintenance guys and some custodians.
Yeah, that's what I said, they work.
Right. And a lot of that has to do with maintenance that can't take place or cleaning that can't take place while
While it's
students
school.
are in or can't be handled over a week.
So I know the custodians, I know they touch up floors, like you say, because of that matter, so.
Yes, sir.
On paper, this just looks like minor tweaks, truthfully. I mean, we're coming into compliance. But I too, like Ms. Gallman stated, and I think a lot of us here have gotten a lot of questions and inquiries. I just don't think it's very clear right now with the employees.
I don't
I don't know what,
yeah,
I don't know where the hangup is, but.
I don't disagree. So before offers of employment go out this year, you will have the opportunity to approve, if you like, the specific days that each classification of person will work. 260 or 233 or 240 or whatever that turns out to be. It'll be spelled out exactly which ones are off during the Christmas break and the spring break and which ones work.
Okay, that might be helpful.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Again, policy GCD, professional staff vacation and holidays, second and final reading. If there's not any other questions, all of those who are in favor? Okay, that policy stands in the majority.
All right. The next one is policy GCG, part-time substitute professional staff employment, second and final reading. This basically provides an opportunity for students who are enrolled in an education program at an accredited institution who are 19 or 20 years old to be allowed to substitute in an elementary school setting only, not middle school, not high school, This gives them and us a chance to get to know them better in terms of their future career, et cetera. This comes out of HR department and, again, is recommended by Personnel Committee, Policy Committee.
Okay. Policy GCG, part-time and substitute professional staff employment, second and final reading, coming out of the Policy Committee. Are there any questions?
You said they'll be able to teach what grades?
Elementary school only. Any other questions? All those who are in favor? Okay, that passes with the majority.
Okay. The last one is second and final reading for policy BID, board member compensation and expenses. This wasn't taken up in the policy committee. It was handled by the board at the last meeting. And all that's happening in this policy is that instead of using the words a per diem for attendance at board meetings, you specify exactly what the annual stipend is for a board member. And that annual stipend is $6,000.
I entertain a motion for policy BID, board member compensation and expenses, second and final reading.
Yeah, we're just updating the verbiage, so I'll make the motion to approve policy BID, board member compensation and expenses.
Motion, Mr. Cash.
Second.
Second, Ms. Shippey. All those who are in favor? That is Mr. Cash, Mr. Greer, Mr. McBee, myself, Mr. Surratt, Ms. Shippey. Those who oppose? Ms. Shackelford, Ms. Gallman, and Mr. Wilkins. The policy is passed with the majority. And I want to say thank you, Mr. Cash. He leads our policy committee. So thank him for the hard work he does along with Dr. Smith and Ms. Westmoreland. Thank you so very much, all three of you. That's it. All the policies are done.
Correct. We're on to
Number 8, superintendent report.
superintendent's report. And the first one up will be HR. Dr. Smith.
Speak to the career fair we had, virtual career fair.
Thank y'all for having me this evening. We hosted our very first virtual career fair events on February the 11th and the 13th. The first was for elementary school teachers and for prospective elementary school principals. There were 19 attendees who joined our 6 facilitators, our 10 principals, our executive director of student services, and our network, our district network and systems administrators. They met for an hour and a half at a meet and greet experience. They were able to log on 15 minutes before the meeting started and gave them a chance to view a scrolling PowerPoint presentation about our school district and highlighting different accomplishments from each one of our schools. And once the meeting started, we had a brief greeting where I shared our mission and beliefs. And then the participants were able to engage with paired principals in virtual breakout rooms for about 12 minutes apiece. And the principals and attendees were able to introduce themselves, learn more about one another, talk about their schools, and about potential opportunities that might be available. And after each one of the breakout rooms had been visited, our group reconvened and we had a special message, closing remarks from our district teacher of the year, Ms. Jessica Ruffner, and we debriefed about the entire experience. The second virtual career fair happened on February the 13th, and that was for secondary teachers and potential secondary principals. It was attended by 7 participants, and we had 5 facilitators, 6 principals, 2 school counselors. Bessie was there again. Ms. Westmoreland was there again to represent student services, and then once again, our district network and systems administrators also did the technology behind the scenes. This one also lasted for an hour and a half, but this time the breakout sessions were 15 minutes long, and we used the same agenda and the same procedures. We received excellent feedback from both meetings via a Google Form survey that was sent out to our attendees and our principals and facilitators. All the attendee responses that we received back rated their overall experience for the virtual career fair as either a 5 or a 4 on a 1 to 5 scale. Feedback included that they appreciated the information explaining the navigation and registration for the virtual meeting. They felt like the information was well communicated in a timely manner. They enjoyed the video backgrounds and the other virtual backgrounds that our principals and facilitators used, and they felt that it was well organized and allowed for, quote, smooth interactions and meaningful conversations with principals. Several did remark that they would have liked to have a shorter application process, but longer breakout sessions with the principals. And then the feedback and from principals and facilitators was also positive. They too rated their overall experiences as mostly 5s and 1 4, citing that the preparations done beforehand, there was a principal meeting handout, there was an expectation list, attendee packets, and we also hosted a mock Zoom meeting. That all let them know exactly what they could expect in the actual Zoom breakout sessions that we did. They shared that the most enjoyable aspects were meeting new candidates and being able to collaboratively work with their district colleagues and the leaders. And they also suggested longer times for breakout rooms so that they could talk to their candidates more. We initially had a little hiccup when our scrolling PowerPoint presentation, and there were the first expiration warnings that we did with the breakout sessions. They were a little bit less, they were a little bit more abrupt than we had expected, but we had all of those kinks worked out by the time we had the second fair, and we have all of our documents and our artifacts that were created for these that have been archived, so that we can host them the next time, which several of our principals and administrators said that they hope that we will. So, if you guys have any questions?
Great job.
It was a really good time.
That's wonderful.
Good job, yeah, just Dr. Fox did a great job. She started this venture and put everything together, and she had some help along the way, but she did most of it herself, so she did a great job, and we appreciate that. We will definitely do this again next year. We may do it in the fall, try to get those December graduates if we have any openings. So the good thing, the platform's there, and went smooth, and it can only get better. So,
That's right,
again,
that's
thank
right.
you. Appreciate it.
Great job.
Good leadership too, wasn't it, Dr. Fox?
Great job, great job.
Okay, the next item is just a little bit of a budget update. So we are still, we've gotten through just about all of the capital requests. We're working on the operational budget request now. I don't know if we'll finish that up this week, but we're really close. One school had to postpone today due to illness, and we've got a couple tomorrow, I think. So we're working our way through that. We talked in here about a potential budget work session, and I know we were looking at some date after March the 6th. And the second board meeting in March was mentioned as a potential budget work session. So let's target that if that's okay with you guys. I know you've been meeting a lot, so we'll try to hold that off. So we will shoot for Monday, March the 24th as our budget work session. Probably at the next board meeting, I'd like to do a relatively short presentation on how financing of schools occurs in South Carolina. And that can be kind of a presentation of record for all of us, as well as anyone else in the community that wonders, what is this process about? How does the money come into the school district? How do you budget it out, et cetera? So I'll try to do that at our next board meeting on March the 10th. At present, the budget from the House has a state minimum teacher salary schedule increasing by $1,500, putting the first year bachelor's degree 0 years of experience at $48,500. We are already at $48,090, so we're ahead of the game from that standpoint. I don't know where things will shake out. The Senate will take it up next, and then there'll likely be some kind of conference committee, so it'll be down the road before we know exactly where it's going to land. The governor was hoping to raise things $3,000 and get the first-year teacher up to $50,000, but at present, that's not what's on the table. We'll find out more about that later. Any questions on that area? All right, makeup days. it's been quite a ride with all the superintendents in the upstate trying to figure out what to do. There has been legislation offered up that impacts who can forgive days, et cetera. But the bottom line is, and I've checked with state legislators and I've checked with people at the State Department of Education, and the fact of the matter is that school districts do have to make up 3 days, no matter what legislation is passed, et cetera. At least that's the way it is so far. So we've got that to do. And then the board can waive 3 of those days. So we missed 7 in September and October, 2 in January. So 27 and 30 September, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 in October. 7 October, we were able to make a teacher work day. So our board waived 3 days. So and I'm getting this on record because I've got to fill out a report to this effect. 27 and 30 September, along with 1 October, will be the days that you all waived, okay? So 2 October will be makeup day number 1, which we did on February the 17th, all right? 3 October is makeup day number 2, which we will do in person on April 18th. And then 7 October, 4 October, that makeup day is to be determined. And when we met last, we said it would likely be a Saturday. Let me pause there for a second. We've taken options to our principals and asked them to survey teachers about whether they would like to extend a regular school day for an hour for some number of days, or would they rather have an e-learning day on a Saturday, or a third option that we weren't really aware of at the time would be to extend one of the half days at the end of the school year to make up for a day. Now, the data that has come back so far, and not every school has reported yet, but overwhelmingly so far, folks are selecting, let's make it up on a Saturday. In our discussion this morning with Cabinet and talking about what would be most effective, we believe, for us in terms of impacting student achievement, as in the testing that occurs in May, would be for us to have that e-learning day on a Saturday sometime prior to when the testing occurs. So we're kind of leaning in that direction. I have to make the request to the State Board of Education by March the 20th. We have another board meeting between now and then, so I'll have a more complete report for you by then about, the Saturday that is being chosen, et cetera. So we'll be asking the State Board of Education to waive October the 7th. And as long as we don't miss any more days, we should be okay. We still have 2 e-learning days left, one of which we would use on that Saturday to make it up, and then we would be good to go. So we got one in the pocket that can help us out if we needed it. So one more thing. Assuming we don't miss any further days, we'll have that last one missed, and we'll be good to go. All of this, I'm doing my best to keep the situation where we have had faculty and staff utilize parent conference days and some flex days in order to not have to come back after Memorial Day. So we are still on track for that right now. I'm doing my best to make sure that we don't have any employees who are working more days or more hours than they have been paid. If anything, I plan to end the year with folks being paid for more than what they actually worked. So I'm doing my best to try to monitor that. And based on some research done by Ms. Westmoreland today, we'll dig into it a little bit more. There may be some 12-month classified people whom I will owe a half or a full day, depending on whether or not they stay for the long day at the next parent meeting, or whether they come on that makeup day on that Friday where everybody has to come. So there may be some people in that situation where I would owe them a half a day or a full day. And if that's the case, my plan would be to offer them to be off on the Tuesday after Memorial Day, if that works for them, or at some time that is convenient for them and their supervisor, whatever they can work out that's best for them. So that's kind of where I'm headed with that. There are basically 3 categories of employees. They're certified non-exempt, classified non-exempt, classified exempt, and then all certified are exempt employees. So a classified non-exempt employee, we cannot have them working more days or more hours than we pay them for. That would be against the Fair Labor Standards Act. So we've got to monitor that. And we've got to monitor it even better moving forward. Those folks, we can't let them volunteer to stay longer than they are contracted or supposed to be working for without providing either compensation or comp time, one of the two. So we're trying to pay attention to that. I know that was a lot for makeup days. Any questions?
So we're saying the Saturday would be a e-learning day,
Yes.
and then custodians, cafeteria, everybody else would come to work on Saturday, or how would that go?
Well, that's a dilemma. So at this point, I think for, except for the kind of people that you just talked about who have other days that are available to them that we could negotiate with them on, I think there's enough time between now and when that Saturday would occur that many of those employees would be able to work with their supervisor and identify what work they can take home, like secretaries, assistant principals, guidance counselors, et cetera, that they would be able to document that they've worked that day. So that's the plan.
So Dr. White, because I think Ms. Shackelford alluded to some complaints that we've received as a board. So people who actually worked during Hurricane Helene and feel they do not need to make up days, would you explain how what you propose will make them whole?
Well, I've asked them to get with their principal or their supervisor, and if they came in during those Helene days and they are, particularly if they are classified non-exempt, and even if they're classified exempt, if they will get with their supervisor or their principal and express to them what their situation is, we will certainly take a look at that. There were people who came in during the hurricane, mostly maintenance folks and cafeteria folks, and we paid those. The other folks who came in during that time, and not all of them did, were exempt employees. So it's hard to say, for me at least, that the ones who came in, everybody was paid. No one lost any salary during that period of time. Right. Some of them may have been here and put time in and were paid, and others may have not have been here, didn't put time in, and yet they were paid as well. So, you know, I just say if anyone feels like that we've done them wrong in any way, shape, or form, if they will get that information to their supervisor, we will do our best to do right by them.
Thank you. Thank you for addressing that.
Capital update, really quickly. The band room, the state fire marshal inspection is Wednesday. This has been the never-ending inspection project. I can't say that it's unusual, but it is typically frustrating. So after the fire marshal leaves on Wednesday, then the paperwork gets filed, and we should have our certificate of occupancy by the end of the week. The furniture for the area is scheduled for the week of March the 3rd. There might be a few cabinets coming in a little bit later than that, but hopefully by March the 3rd, everything will be in and we will have all of our documentation in place. Baseball, softball, Blacksburg, and Gaffney. So the last report I gave you was that we were at about $10.7 million. So I have signed, based on your authorization, the GMP for the construction, and the construction is $9,719,381. And that's in both places, and that's a guaranteed maximum price. If it comes in under that, and it may very well, then we would get a check back. On the other hand, if there are other projects dealing with those two places that we may want to take under consideration, then those funds could be used for that. And I say that because that one of the things that's not in this project are scoreboards. So if we get the opportunity to replace those scoreboards, that might be something we want to look at. Just learned recently about a great deal of maintenance we're having to do on the ones that currently exist. I think they've been there for a while. All right, so the number I gave you, 9,719,381, is the construction, all right? The soft costs are about 1.1 million. Now, what's included in that is architectural fees for the buildings and the site design, third-party testing, printing and advertising, that's putting things out for bid, surveys and borings, voice, video, and data, so sound systems are included at all those places, but not the scoreboards yet. And then there's contingency in that number too. So that final number is close to 10.7, which is, you know, basically where I told you we were about a month ago. So any questions on where we are with that?
So I've got one. So with that, we cannot go over the 10.7-8 million for the project by the contracts. Because I'm just saying that because we started the band room, when we voted it was 1.2. Then the next vote it was 2.4, and now we finished 4 million. So is that going to be in this process as well?
So your questions, can you go over that? So let me, once again, the construction part of it is 9,719,381. So that's a guaranteed maximum price for all of the stuff that's in the packet that I have. If we choose to do something that's outside what we've agreed upon, then yes, it would cost more. But except for that scoreboard issue, I think we're pretty doggone close.
Okay.
I don't have a question. I do have a comment though. I'm a little baffled that the scoreboards wouldn't be included in that, and I think while we're going through this process, it would make sense to go ahead and get prices for them, and whether we move forward or not, I have no idea how much scoreboards cost. Of course, I'm not in that business, but I don't want to get it done and then have rankly old scoreboards that don't even work now. That doesn't make sense to me.
We are including the infrastructure, like the conduit to all of those scoreboard areas, so that should the district choose at some point in the future, you could actually have video boards in those areas or upgraded scoreboards. So the opportunity will be there, and we think at this point in time that the funding will be there for it within what we have, and if not, that's something we could move forward with with a change order if we needed to. All right. Quickly, the furniture at Gaffney Middle School's been installed. I forget how many classrooms it was, but he has furniture in his request for capital for next year, along with some other schools for furniture. So you'll be seeing that again later. But that furniture has finally been delivered. It has been installed, etc. Blacksburg's gymnasium update. The sound panels and the sound system are complete. The bleachers, remember, and the gym floor will be done as soon as school is out. So everything is lined up for that. They have some reception area cabinetry that will be taking place during spring break as well. Ewing Middle School chiller, that portable chiller is gone. We told you the installation would be sometime in February. The installation of the new chiller is March the 3rd is what it's scheduled for. And the switch gear again for the main power will be a project this summer. Blacksburg Elementary School reception area, that counter was delivered, it cracked, so they had to reorder it, and it's scheduled to go in during spring break. And Limestone Central Elementary Media Center furniture, she's made her selections, the order's been placed. That furniture should be coming in about the same time the band room furniture comes in. So it'll be a labor issue as to when exactly that furniture gets in the media center at Limestone Central. They'll get to the band room first. Last item is calendar of events. Maintenance, Property, and Grounds Committee, we'll have another meeting here sometime soon. Community meeting is planned for Thursday, 27, that's this Thursday, in the team room. So we'll have our normal folks here for that. School choice opens up March the 1st and closes April the 1st. Next regular board meeting is March the 10th. March 21 to 23 is your national conference in Atlanta. Thank you for agreeing to go, Ms. Dawkins.
Thank you.
And a budget work session is planned for March 24th. Special Olympics is April the 25th, that's Friday. April the 9th is the day at the Capitol for board members. Don't forget about your statements of economic interest, and the instructional calendar, the multicolored one, should be in your packet. And I do have a request for executive session for personnel and property.
Mhm. Okay, moving on to item number 9, executive session. Entertain a motion for executive session for personnel matters for the purpose of discussing the employment, discipline, or release of an employee or employees of the district, property matters, and student discipline.
I make a motion to enter into executive session for personnel matters for the purpose of discussing the employment, discipline, or release of an employee or employees of the district, property matters, and student discipline.
Motion, Ms. Gallman.
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Greer. All in favor? That's unanimous. We're in executive session. We entertain a motion to return to open session.
I'll make a motion, we'll return to the session.
Motion, Mr. McBee.
Second.
Second, Mr. Wilkins. All those that are in favor, that is unanimous. Item number 10, action as needed from executive session. No action at this time. Item number 11, personnel recommendations. Is there a motion to accept the personnel recommendations brought to us by the superintendent?
I'll make the, motion to accept the personnel recommendations from, interims Dr. White, with the exception of number 1.
Mr. Wilkins made the motion to accept the superintendent's personnel recommendation with the exclusion of item number 1. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Gallman. Any discussion? All those who are in favor? That is unanimous. At this time, are there any announcements for any of our board members? Since the meeting has been kind of lengthy tonight, we will save those announcements for our next board meeting. But when you come back to the next board meeting, one of the things at the convention was tell me something good. So when you come back to the next board meeting, bring some good news to share with the rest of the board members, or something that's exciting that you've heard has happened in our district within the next 2 weeks. So I look forward to that night. If nothing else, I ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion, Mr. Wilkins.
Second.
Second, Mr. Cash. All those who are in favor, we stand adjourned.